Hi, I'm Cole McCormack, and I'm the creator, writer, director of A Town Called Whitewater. I know that it's not really something that I see a lot of people do with their analog horror series where they make a making of, but I kind of want to do that with mine, since I do that with almost all my short films. I'm going to kind of go through the entire production history of this, go over why I made some of the decisions that I made, and talk about it. How did we do some of this stuff? I had this idea that was this kind of alternate history where John McCain won the election in 2008, and all this crazy stuff happened as a result, and this giant monster attacked Wisconsin and ended up getting nuked, and then the entire thing became irradiated, and it was all this crazy stuff. But I made about 2 episodes of that. I never published them, and I just kind of went, yeah, I'm good. It's not really working out the way I really wanted it to. So then some time passed, and Joe was hanging out at my place, and I was like, hey, you want to go out and just film something? And he was like, yeah, why not? He's always down to film stuff. And what happened was we drove out to Whitewater, and there's this big water tower that's in Whitewater. You can see it when you're driving into the town. I was like, oh, I wrote this thing on it, this history script. Do you want to just read it out? Because at the time I was sort of planning out my Uncharted narrative series, which is where I go over historical events and I talk about it just like this. But the stair and water tower video wasn't really super long. It might have been like a minute max because there's not much to really talk about. I had Joe basically read it out, and you could even see him do a kind of like I'm in Whitewater, Wisconsin.
I'm in Weldon Spring. I'm in Yevley. I'm in the abandoned city of Pripyat.
I'm in the city of Whitewater, Wisconsin.
So it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, and that was the whole point. And it wasn't really until we were done filming that I went, what if we made this like a found footage thing? And then that's when the gears started kind of turning in my brain, and I'm like, well, there's already local legend and Wisconsin esoterica of, this is a witch's tower, and they kept spikes pointing this way to keep people out of the tower and all that kind of stuff, or to keep stuff in. So in my brain I'm going, there's a lot of spiritualist stuff that happened with this town. We can do a lot with that. I still wanted to have something where Joe said, didn't we back in, or didn't we pull in? I can't remember exactly what it is.
Hey, can you park forward? I think I did. What?
And that is actually true. You see at the start of the episode, you see the car pull in, and then when we're walking there, you see us backed in. And that it's kind of like a red herring, like it actually didn't really go anywhere. That was just because I hadn't really written the series yet, and I was just like, well, we'll just have something a little creepy happen. That bit at the start too was just us kind of coming up with an intro to that to make it seem more natural and more found footage. You can tell I seem really uncomfortable because I was like, Joe just basically said, here, you just pull in and then I'll kind of go from there. And I went, okay. That's why I'm like, oh yeah. I didn't really say much.
I don't know how the camera works, right? I think. Is it recording? Yeah, it's recording. I guess here we are, right?
Yeah, you got the mic?
Yeah, I got the mic.
So we filmed that, time went by, and I wrote the whole series, at least that first season, in about a week. From there, then, I put together that first episode where it's almost like a trailer. You kind of get the gist of what the series is going to be about. You understand that Morris Pratt is going to play a role, maybe not in season 1, but later down the line. Just kind of sprinkling all these little seeds of where the series could possibly go.
Our great town was founded almost 150 years ago in 1837. The man behind it all was Morris Pratt.
There was that fire that was mentioned in there. Is that going to play a factor later on? There was the whole JFK thing. Is that going to play a factor later on? The main thing, though, of this season that was the focus was the stair and water tower. How does it affect the characters and the town of Whitewater? So we filmed that first part in January. And then I made that first episode using a text-to-speech voiceover, which I kind of regret doing. I wish it was more of an actual voice. One person that I had in mind for that is my buddy Gabe. If you've seen Pesticide, he plays the news reporter in that, and he has a perfect voice for voiceover.
It has been 1 year since the economic collapse. American society has fallen into shambles and may never recover.
But It's in the past now. It's whatever. So then for the second episode, there were a few parts of it. This was very much a Frankenstein of a project. So for episode 2, the idea for each episode is that each episode is one tape, and it was taped over by different people or on different cameras entirely. That's why in episode 1, you see that sweeping shot of this woods, and it's a little dumb movie that kids were making. And that's because that's an actual thing that I filmed when I was 10. It was supposed to be some werewolf project, and I never ended up doing anything with it, but I did shoot some shots like that where it's, oh, here's a piece of fabric hanging on a tree, and then here's a skull on the ground, and whatever. That's about as far as I got. But I figured, oh, that'd be kind of fun to use that. For the most part, a lot of the footage, though, was newer. The only stuff that wasn't, there's that Atari thing where one of the characters was playing Atari for a few seconds. It's supposed to be like, oh, they were filming themselves playing it, and then the tape got kind of cut off. That was also from 2013 or 2012 or whenever. We were up north at this cabin, and they happened to have an Atari, so I filmed it a few times on this camera, and I used it. Simple as. Now there is another neat piece of footage. I was testing out the zoom on one of my camcorders that I have, and while that was going on, there were some turkeys in the field, and I'm kind of zooming in on them. My dad said, because he was watching some mummy documentary, and they were talking about how they were like drilling into skulls and stuff, and he was talking in the background about that. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just add that in there. And it kind of has nothing to do with the plot, but it just kind of adds to the vibe.
This is weird that they found, it's like mummies, Egyptian things. They found a head, just a head, and it's got like a hole in the middle in the forehead.
Then there was the part where the livestock goes missing, and we're looking for it. That was real. We lost one of our chickens that day, and I just figured, well, I'll just film it. So I filmed it with my phone, and we got some really neat shots out of that. Some people told me like, oh, I thought something was gonna grab him when he's out on that hill, but it's supposed to be kind of like a red herring. But yeah, there's one more thing too that I didn't actually film, and that was the shot of me walking into the dorm. That was filmed by Layla. Originally I was gonna drive out by her dorm and film that myself, and then I kind of realized, I'll just have her do it. Like, it's not hard. As long as her hand isn't in the frame, it should be okay. It worked out great. It was exactly how I wanted it, and that's episode 2. The whole takeaway from episode 2 is that me and Joe are these student filmmakers, and he got kidnapped by the cult because he was too close to the tower or whatever it was. It's up to interpretation as of now, but there is an answer. I just don't want to give it away just yet. So episode 3 was one that was in the works for a while. Again, I was gonna have Gabe do voiceover, but I was almost like, I want to do it a little bit more like how Gemini Home Entertainment does their stuff, where there's just kind of text on screen. I feel like that's more effective and creepy. So I just looked up some old microscope pictures of like blood and all this stuff, and then I just kind of had those playing in sequence, and it turned out really kind of eerie. I kind of like it. But the main focus of that, there's 2 key points. It's one, you understand why the tower is being used by the Wisconsin Spiritualist Collective, which was a group that was founded all the way back in the 1800s when the town was first founded. But also, you understand what it's like to be in there when a body is being completely melted down to form this body of this Eternum god. So the way that we did that was, we have an entire video on the channel. I will just play a bit of it here so you can kind of get the gist of it, but this is how we did the effect of Dylan melting down.
Hey guys, it's Layla, and today we're gonna be melting Dylan's face. I'm just gonna be using, like, the main thing we're gonna be using is latex, some foundation, some other makeup stuff, and you'll see the results soon.
Dylan, how do you feel about being melted down today?
I don't know. I've never been melted down before, bro. It's a new experience.
So how much do you love those jeans?
You gonna fuck them up?
I'm just wondering, let me know. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like them?
I made a whole video on them, so.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you're the distressed jeans.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the pants guy.
See, I've never owned a pair of distressed jeans before, or really any distressed garment.
We'll just do that for you, because
Perfect.
don't want to ruin that, because the latex is going to drip, obviously, because it's melting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to take some Q-tips, and I'm just going to put them on his face, like, put like latex on it and just drip it. It's going to take a little bit. I put toilet paper over his eye so that when I like make it melt on that side, it's not going actually in his eyeball, because we do not want that. And it also adds like dimension to his face, because obviously when you're melting, it's not just a straight face down melting. There's gonna be chunks. So I'm just adding a little bit more dimension to his face.
So now what are you doing?
Blow drying his face.
Why?
So that it dries.
Oh.
The goal is to not have any like white latex showing. Obviously the toilet paper white is gonna show right now, but we want it to turn like yellowy clear. Okay, so I'm grabbing a spoon because I'm gonna use a Q-tip still, but like for when it's melting, like I said, it's not just one like line of melt, like the same size. So it's gonna be like bigger globs of melt, aka to cover most of his eye. And then the little ones are gonna be like the ones that bring in depth. I think that's the right word, I don't know. And then it's just gonna go layer by layer. So this is just one layer of it. Because latex is pretty thin. So, and don't worry if any like drops, like you're good. I'm gonna blow dry that. So
All three, I think it's soaking through the toilet paper. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Oh, it's over.
So just make sure your eyes closed.
Cool. I'm trying.
I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna hold this for you. Let's go.
It's Nick.
Hi, hun.
So you want to feel like so
I'm putting on some, like, so this is basically my latex plate. And so now I'm taking the dried latex, like this, you know, that you usually just like throw whatever, but now I'm just throwing it on his face to add texture. Because, you know, again, melting isn't just like everything's going, you know, completely down. So you still want to have that texture and stuff. And then after this, I'm gonna dry it. And then I'm gonna put some foundation. Hopefully I can try to mix the foundation so it matches his color, because I don't, I'm not the same color as Dylan, so we'll see. I'm gonna try to color match his skin tone to what foundation we have, so let's see. Okay, it's obviously light, so we're just gonna add some of this one, I think. And then mix it and see if that matches. Neutrogena. Okay, that looks rough right now because it's not done.
Well, yeah, but the whole thing is a work in progress. What are you doing?
Yes, I'm trying to find a beauty blender so that I can blend out his foundation. James Charles, smile.
This is gotta be so bad for your pores, bro.
All right, well, this is it. That's the final result. In what, less than like 30 minutes I did that. So yeah, it'll obviously look better with whatever movie lighting you're doing. But that's basically a quickie on how to melt someone's face. I'm Layla Nowak. Wait, what is it? I'm Layla Nowak. Wait, I'm Layla Nowak, and you're watching Firewood Media. Thanks for watching.
We actually filmed that scene of him melting in the exact same room where we filmed almost the entire Foxhole movie. You can kind of see it in some of those shots that it's the exact same back room. Sound design has been crucial for this entire series because we're not really showing everything. So a lot of the time it's just, okay, well, how do I come up with this sound to make it work for what we're trying to do? Having crispy audio is also really important because I think a lot of analog horror series don't really get that right, where It didn't sound like you're watching this through a phone, if that makes sense. It has this sort of low fidelity sound, but it isn't like garbled nonsense. And that was something I kind of tried to tread a bit better. It was also great for hiding some poor sound effects, like if something was low quality or didn't sound perfect, it was whatever. To get the sound of a turnum where it's that deep rumbling, like that brrrr, it was a few things. It was a bass guitar being played with a B note, so it's really deep, and then slowed down. And then right before I played, I would then kind of reverse it so it would go and like swell up. It was also a mix of different animal sounds. My dog barking, I also slowed down. And then we have these Polish chickens, and I also took some of their clucks and I added that in there just to give a little bit of like lightness and like treble to the mix, so it wasn't just a sound, and it actually had more of an oomph to it. Episode 4 was a lot of fun to film. It was mostly me just saying, look, I know this is weird and doesn't make any sense, but when you see the final cut, it'll make sense. So just trust me. There's this video of all the Heaven's Gate members where they're talking about, you know, their life and how they came to this point, and it's an exit statement. If you know what happens to Heaven's Gate, yeah. But I also wanted to kind of, again, bring back that whole VHS tape thing where someone's been taping over this stuff. Like in episode 3, it's this Wisconsin Spiritualist Collective video, and it's playing like usual, and then it cuts out, and then it's this found footage of these guys biking and whatnot. And then right before something horrific happens, it cuts back to the original tape, because whoever was taping over it decided to cut right there. Did the tape keep going? Did it stop right there? Is that why it cut back? Who knows? So with episode 4, I wanted it to be, okay, it's this TNT's Monster Vision, and they are kind of cutting in the middle of this. And I just wanted it to have this sort of like 90s cult aesthetic, because at this point in the timeline, it's about maybe like September 1999. So Joe's character has already been in the cult for a while. He's already been kidnapped. There's a little thing that we added into that I really love where he does the SOS sign. He goes like this. This is also the second project with my mom in it. I thought that was really funny. But there's that part where the TNT Monster Vision host is talking, and I want to give a bit of context about what that is. That's not a real TNT Monster Vision thing, okay? That's an original character that I came up with around fall of 2022. I was working on this big film fest for my school, and it was basically this short film festival where we would have all these different short films. And I wanted to have a thing where in between each short film, this sort of Crypt Keeper character would come on screen and be like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna say some funny puns and give a bit of context about what this is and blah, 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 blah. And I filmed about 15 different ones of those. Ones where he's playing with dinosaurs and whatnot, and that's kind of the whole gist. He's supposed to be like a comedic character. But ultimately, we ended up scrapping it just for time, because I also needed to finish editing my own movies that were going to be put into that film festival, and I just didn't have the time to edit movies and edit like 15 different little things there, and it was just hectic. So I ended up scrapping it, but I still had all this footage, and I'm like, well, this would be kind of fun to bring this character back in a way, because we have all that footage, and it was played by Luke, which is really funny. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a lot of fun filming that. We had this big fog machine, and we ended up just smoking up the entire house, and smoke alarms were going off. We had to have all the windows open, and we filmed this in like late October, so it was freezing cold out. Episode 5 was something that I was really stressing over for a while, because I knew that I wanted that big money shot of a turnum, and I didn't know how to do it. I originally wanted one where you saw the actual tower and then this monster burst out of the tower, and then I realized I'm being way too ambitious. I thought about doing a miniature. I thought about having it be an actual person with tons of liquid latex all over them, and then I'm like, that would be the most painful thing ever for them to have to take all that off. It would not be worth it. And I eventually just settled on, okay, we'll just animate it. That's all Blender. And it took forever to learn, and I don't ever want to do Blender again. I'm joking, I might do Blender again, but it's just not really my cup of tea. I like everything being tangible and on camera, practical effects. Not dissing people who use Blender, but that's just my own personal thing. The rest of it, it's supposed to be my character kind of trying to figure out where Joe is. It's still, you know, I'm still being like, okay, he's missing. I'll print out some posters. The opening thing that says it's from 1989 is actually from 2005. My dad had filmed that on a camcorder, and I was taking all the mini DV tapes that we had and putting them into my computer to digitize them and archive them. And that was on one of the tapes, and I just thought, that's kind of cool. That kind of fits with that turkey clip that played in episode 2. The whole, like, last minute or two of that episode, though, I'm so insanely proud of. I love emergency alert systems, and they're just so eerie to me. There's just something horrific about it. And the memory of watching movies on TV or just watching TV in general, and then all of a sudden having that emergency alert system pop up, it's just nothing short of, like, horrific to me. And I kind of wanted to capture that here.
The city's been invaded by Godzilla.
I wanted to use this Monster Vision New Year's Eve thing as a plot device or as a narrative device to sort of make it clear of what's happening and when and why. It's New Year's Eve, it's Y2K. There was a frenzy around Y2K that the world was going to end, so I figured this might be kind of neat. So, funnily enough, I reused some more footage for that last minute to 2 minute part. A lot of that footage was actually from my first ever feature film, Another Day Closer to the Sun. And there was a lot that wasn't really used from that just because it didn't really look too great or whatever reason, timing and whatnot. In that movie, there's this scene where I'm kind of walking through the fog and it's supposed to be kind of eerie and whatnot. And for this, there's a very similar scene. So I figured, well, I have so much unused footage from that, why don't I just reuse what I already have instead of waiting for a foggy day? I just color corrected it to make it look green and have this sort of like apocalyptic feel to it, much more than the actual feature film did, which is also end of the world type stuff. But getting back to Eternum, I really wanted the monster to have this abstract look to it. I wanted it to look like if H.P. Lovecraft had designed an Ultraman monster, where it was super zany and out there, but it still had this cosmic feel to it. I sent it to Dylan, who has collaborated with me on a lot of these projects. He was actually the guy that got melted down in episode 3. He said that it looked too cute because it had almost like eyes. And I said, no, those aren't eyes. Those are cells. The idea is it's basically a cell with giant tentacles and whatnot. And that's the whole gist of it. That was kind of what episode 3 was foreshadowing. I had ideas where it would be this giant flesh monster and it would burst out of the stair and water tower and then just die immediately and become almost like a comedy. But I think keeping that cosmic feel really helps it in the long run and made it feel a lot less underwhelming. I know there's still a lot of unanswered questions with this entire series about the Wisconsin Spiritualist Collective, about Morris Pratt III, the OG Morris Pratt, about all the JFK stuff that was set up in the first episode. There will be a season 2. And it's going to explore the JFK stuff a lot more and who founded the cult as well, and that connection to JFK and the government as a whole. So it's going to be a lot more conspiratorial, whereas this one was more existential. It's mostly written right now. I just have to kind of fine tune it a bit. And I'm hoping when I'm on winter break, I'll be able to just film everything and then have it out that summer. Ideally, I would just release each episode daily. So like Monday, episode 1, Tuesday, episode 2, Wednesday, episode 3, Thursday, episode 4, Friday, episode 5. That's the whole series, that's season 2 then. I tried kind of segmenting it and releasing these episodes whenever I finished them, but I feel like that kind of just caused some confusion with people, and they didn't really know, okay, is this a series or is this a short film, or like, what is this? And that's one of my regrets. I wish I would have just scheduled them either weekly or daily. But you live and you learn. So that's basically the making of. I had a lot of fun making this. I've always wanted to do kind of cosmic horror stuff. And in this style too, analog is such a unique way of telling a story. I grew up with VHS tapes, so there's a lot of nostalgia to it all. I don't know. I just think it's very interesting. And I think that the way that we took it kind of makes it stand out. I've seen a lot of analog horror stuff where it is just the instructional video and then rule of 3, where it's 2 normal things and then a scary thing. And I really wanted to kind of shake things up and include a lot of live action footage, since I do have a background in filmmaking, and having stuff outright just appear as if it's on a camcorder and these are old tapes that people are finding. I just wanted to kind of make it my own. Is it analog horror? Maybe. I mean, it kind of treads a bit more into found footage, but it's kind of a hodgepodge. I don't know. What is genre? Who cares? I know the series only got like 100 views with each episode, but I don't really care. I had fun making it, and that's all that really matters. So, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm Cole McCormack. You're watching Firewood Media. Stay tuned for A Town Called Whitewater Season 2. Thank you so much for watching.